Thank you very much, and good afternoon. I'm very humbled to be here today, and I want to really thank those who have organized this meeting for considering that I could have something to say on a topic that there is too much opinion. As you have heard Makomen eloquently speak, I always think Makomen is not in the right job. I thought he was a very excellent political analyst. I think he's even more of an excellent senator. But I really always feel that there's somewhere we are missing Makomen's talent. And that is something that I have never understood where it is, but I feel that he'd probably be a very good comedian as well. So I really want to thank those who invited me, and I really want to thank my very good friend and my father's very good friend, and on top of that, somebody who has mentored me in Nairobi politics, Joe Akech, Mayor. He came to my office to ask me to please make sure that I attend this meeting. And for him to come to my office, already I was attending. That's how much I respect him. But let me speak a bit about my perspective on devolution and even the citizens' participation at the national level, because as you know, we sit at the National Assembly. We are therefore national. Therefore, we definitely are the upper house. And we have been having discussions about participation because we have realized, as Makomen said, people don't get devolution. We understand it, maybe those of us who were in the process, because I was in Parliament then. Makomen, of course, you know, was the one who wrote a devolution. So, of course, we understand it very well, and we can always articulate it. But if you go home, because I've just come from my home in Huisero, I had gone for a funeral, and it was amazing the kind of questions I was being asked, including why I have not done a homecoming since I was elected by the people of Kakamega. And I have decided I might as well do that homecoming because my mother-in-law has no peace until I do a homecoming in Kakamega because I was elected the Nairobi women representative because of the people of Kakamega. So that is how basically people don't get devolution. But what even amazes me more is how much the leadership that was elected also doesn't understand devolution. And I'm one of the few people in Parliament who strongly believes that the devolution should take center stage in the development of this country now. And I speak that way because I'm a woman who has come up through activism and women activism. And actually, when I now read the program properly after I had been brought the program, I looked at who are organizing and I said, oh, the Catholic Church. How do I speak? How do I dress? How do I look? How do I speak? Because as you know, many of us have total respect, 100% respect for the Catholic Church. But we also know that they are very strict in many of the things they do. So you have to kind of really gauge where you are going. I remember when I joined TNA, and I was having a conversation with the now president when he was a candidate looking for votes. He told me, Rachel, I want to tell you something that you can help me with. I said, what, Your Excellency? No, then we used to call him UK. He had not reached excellency level. He said, could you tone down a bit this issue of affirmative action thing for women? Because, you know, I'm a Catholic, and the Catholic Church does not really appreciate when you are too loud. And I said, Your Excellency, I will tone down. I will tone down, but I will not stop agitating for more women to be elected to the National Assembly. And so when we speak about the women who have been elected, I want to tell you, we were 22 in the last Parliament. We really tried to bring issues that affect the grassroots, the counties that we are talking about. We really struggled to bring them, but we only have 22 voices. But with those 22 voices, we were able to actually complete the process to allow affirmative action seats, the 47 and the 18 nominated for the Senate. It was as a result of those 22 women who were in the last parliament. In that last parliament, we were also able to eventually get the law that ensures that we have no FGM in this country. Now that was the biggest feat. Just like it was in the parliament before, when Jo Kindongo was there when she brought the Sexual Offences Act. Before that, when the likes of Julia Ojiambo, Phoebe Asio, Zipporah Kitoni brought the principle of affirmative action, they were laughed out of town. Then we brought it back. So what I'm saying is when the women's voice is heard and the women's voice speaks united, there is development. I have always said affirmative action to me is equals to development. You empower women, you empower the county. It's not a song, it's not a story, it's the truth. And so when you talk about devolution and you talk about representation at the grassroots, if that county, for any reason, is not empowering the women, they are really taking us backwards rather than forwards. I have seen an attempt at the county level, the executive, to employ women, but they have not done the affirmative action principle as agreed in the Constitution. Nobody is taking them up to task. The president, of course, knew there was no way he was going to put a cabinet that didn't have 1/3 because he knew he would not even have a gate to pass through because of the women who are now in parliament. But at the county level, I have seen that nobody really seems to be making this. And you know why that happened? Because the nomination of the women who are now nominated in the county assembly levels took so long that the county executives were appointed without the participation of the nominated women MCAs. So already for me, that was a way of disenfranchising the voice of the women. But what can we do now with the affirmative action principle? Because what is the truth is that even the Budalangi story, who was narrating that story? Was she ever tired? Every year, in and out, with the same language, just different clothes, that woman would keep saying, Serikali. So what is obvious is that even the person who keeps pleading with the government, that the people who keep looking for help is always the women. And so isn't it about time we recognize the role of women? That's why today in Parliament we are 86. And believe me, 86 voices in Parliament speaking together. We are 47 elected women. And by the way, now that we are all elected from every county, nowhere in this country can they say they don't have representation of women because it was per county. So there's a Pokot woman, there's a woman from Turkana, and there's the woman from Nairobi, and there's the woman from Kiambu. And we all have equal status in that parliament. But now we also have 18 women nominated in the Senate. We have 6 women more who are nominated. And then we have the 16, those who we call our champions because they fought against men in constituencies and they were elected. So those are 16. So in total, we have a voice of 86 women. And this voice of 86 women, for me, is a collective voice that must speak in one tone when it comes to development. Because if you're talking about the down-up, bottom-up approach to devolution, the top is always men who sit there. The bottom is where you'll find the women. The top you'll always find men, believe it or not. But the bottom is where you'll find the women. And so I'm looking at whether the study showed what the role of the women was. Because if you did not take time to look at what women have contributed, then you missed the boat. Because women contribute a lot. All the big things you see happening in counties, even to expose the ills of a country, start with the voices of the women. As I said, I was in Huisero this weekend. I had gone to bury my hairdresser. Now, if anybody knows, one of the reasons I'm elected is also because of my hair. Apparently, it amazes people, it amuses people, some people it irritates, I don't know. But I have always made my hair at Kenyatta Market. And in Kenyatta Market is when I always know what are the real problems of Nairobi. You will never know them in a saloon in Hazina Towers on 4th floor. You'll never know the problems of Nairobi. But at Kenyatta Market, where all women, Awinja, for example, the late spoke 4 languages. It took me very long to understand, Awinja, are you a Kamba? Are you a Luo? Are you a Luya? It took me very long to realize that she's not only a Luya, but comes from my village, because I just assumed, because she spoke all languages. That is 90% of the women who work in Kenyatta Market. They can speak all those 4 languages fluently. Is there a better place that is integrated than Kenyatta Market? Is there a better place? I don't know why National Cohesion does not give them a medal, because at least they speak all languages, believe me or not. So anyway, as I went to bury Awinja, what I realized is that, first of all, the family of Awinja could not have taken her home because of the levels of poverty in Nairobi, that people assume Nairobi is very rich. It is not. We probably have the highest levels of poverty in the slums. But Awinja was taken home in style by the women in Kenyatta Market. To the letter, all of them contributed to her funeral. They then hired a bus and went to bury Awinja in Huisero. When I was sitting at that funeral is when I realized we are really missing the boat on even how to do national integration. Because if having women, Kambas, Kikuyus, Nubians, Luos, Luyas, in a village in Huisero burying one of their own is not national integration, I don't know what is. But those are the women, if you speak about Shebesh, a bit off, like Makomen tends to do once in a while, you will be chased out of Kenyatta Market. Because I think it is good if once in a while as leaders, those of us who do not play tribal politics say it. It's good for us to say it. I don't believe in being too humble without saying the truth that probably can make somebody think, oh, if Shebesh can do it, why can't I? Because I was elected with 629,000 votes. Now, those are votes sometimes I sit down and count and see how many zeros are these. Surely, I'm sure in my life I've never spoken to more than 100,000 people in terms of politics. 629,000 people to give you a vote. Either you have a very powerful party, which I did, or you do a very good job of talking across the line in Nairobi to everybody. I can tell you, when I hear people did not give me their vote because of my tribe, it hurts me. Because I'm a Kikuyu, Mai to a Luya. I know you said Kikuyu Kamba is cucumber. What are mine called? My children. What are my children called? Because it really bothers me that you cannot. It always bothers me that that beyond my work, the biggest factor that is seen is my tribe and my gender. It bothers me. So sometimes I wish then I was in the body of a man, then this issue would pass. Then sometimes I wish, okay, if I was not a Kikuyu, married to a Luya, then maybe this would work. Because let me tell you, and I love that Mombingaru is seated here listening to me. Every time I speak about why I am here today, I start with Mombingaru. Because it is because of Mombingaru that I even went to ODM, worked very hard, and was nominated. And every time we used to sit down together with Mumbi, we used to ask ourselves, are we being foolish? Are we really clever politicians? Are we doing the right thing? Because of the very demographics that I have seen here, when people say they don't like regional parties, they love them. They love them. I don't know, maybe they were scared, because as I said, when people see anything that comes to the Catholic Church, you have to be very careful. But I can tell you for a fact, Kenyans love political parties that are associated to their tribe. In fact, one of the biggest, let me say, political mistakes that one Musalia Mudavadi made was to try to go with a party that was not affiliated to his tribe. That experiment did not work. And so we have not reached the point. But today, believe me, I seriously believe this, that irrespective of the political party, the day of choosing leaders has come. And that today many Kenyans will choose leaders. If you come to Parliament, I will show you many MPs. Yesterday we also went for a homecoming of one MP who I had no idea came with a party called Maendeleo. I didn't even know there was a party called Maendeleo. But he's the only MP who was elected on a party called Maendeleo in a region that was heavily coded. Today, if you come, I will show you in areas that were heavily Jubilee, some MPs who came with parties whose names you can't pronounce. True. And so sometimes I want to understand those areas where they made that decision to overlook political parties, what was the factor? I'm not exaggerating. All the MPs I have spoken to tell me, Rachel, the women were behind me. The women were behind me. Either because he was a teacher who taught children well, women appreciated him, or he was a head of a circle. And so when he went to stand and he did not get the party ticket, the women who believed in him elected him or her. And so I'm begging, because I know at the end of the day, people will still remain very rigid. And rigidity is there. That we look at leadership away from tribe and away from political party. Marcomen is speaking very eloquently, of course, about how he won in a small tribe, I don't know, big tribe, I don't know what. But Marcomen is probably one in a million. The rest of the leaders, what they do, they will just conform. One of the questionnaires I said I must touch because I am in the National Assembly and we are the ones who do this process is called vetting. And I will tell you, vetting was a good idea gone bad. Good idea gone bad. Because the moment you are coming to vet people immediately after an election, be sure whoever the president brings will pass. Whichever name comes, as soon as you've come into an election, it is what I would wish, though, is that vetting could be done again. I wish it could be vetted once, then you have, or we just leave the vetting process, as long as they have been interviewed with a good process, let them be employed, and then let them be vetted after about 6 to 8 months. Believe me, there are some cabinet secretaries today, if they came for vetting, especially those who lead in demolishing houses in Nairobi, they would pass no vetting when I'm there. But at that time, there was no question asked. This is a new government. We are trying to put in a new structure. We have tyranny of numbers. So definitely vetting. Let us be honest. Kenyans see. Kenyans are not blind. This thing is live on TV. Vetting is a good idea, gone bad. And so we have to rethink how we want to vet so that we continue to get the confidence of Kenyans. Because really we are not vetting. But one of the issues that happens when people are being employed also that I believe should be strengthened is the interview process. Because when somebody is interviewed, there is also a level of vetting. So I think when an interview happens and you have been interviewed, we should see when you are interviewed, did you pass the interview? We don't get those details when we are vetting. So as all we look at is, has CASA mentioned you? No. Has anybody mentioned you? No. Have you been in the cover of a newspaper? No. Okay. Good to go. Really, that's not vetting. I think we need to look at vetting in a more serious way. But let me conclude by saying that we are going into an area in Kenya that people again want to shy away from. I think, as you said, you want Kenyans to participate. But I think there's a way we muzzle the voice of Kenyans for our own convenience. And I want to say clearly that I think just as government is to blame, so is civil society. There is a way civil society intimidates Kenyans, just the same way government can intimidate Kenyans not to speak out on an issue. And I'm speaking about a process that is about to start in this country, that is about to be written in history, not only in Kenya, but the world. When a deputy president and a president appear in a court in The Hague. And because I don't know it's taboo, I don't know it's what, people are quiet and silent. Nobody wants to ask, is this process a process that is going to tear our country, heal us, take us forward? Is it about democracy? Is it about justice? Nobody wants to talk about it. Of course, you want to talk very much about salaries of MPs, which is your right. But how about the ICC process? What are Kenyans saying? Today, if you went to the areas that were heavily affected by the ICC process, what are those victims saying now? And unfortunately, people believe that MPs don't know what's going on. Politicians don't know what's going on the ground. That's the biggest lie. I've just told you I've come from Huisero. In Nairobi, every week I feed people in Kirogosho. I go to Huruma. I go to Dandora. I know what people are saying on the ground. And I can tell you without a doubt that we do know what people are saying. But because, as I said, when topics come that look like they are untouchables, people keep quiet. I'm asking, how long will we be quiet about the ICC and where Kenya is today? Kenya was somewhere else in 2002. Kenya was somewhere else in 2007. Kenya is somewhere else today in 2013. But nobody wants to admit that we have a president and a deputy president who will be sitting at a court in the ICC, and yet we say we have a country that we want to move forward. How exactly do we want to move forward if we don't speak? Today, I'm sure you saw members of parliament coming together and saying that we will take this issue back to the floor of the House. We want you to do your duty also as civil society. A few years ago, you went to the ground, people told you things. Go today and tell us the truth. What is it that Kenyans are saying about the ICC? Because believe me, we will go to parliament and we will all agree together on a position that we do not want to imagine that our president and deputy president will be facing the ICC as we are seated here in Kenya. That I can assure you. We want a government that moves. We don't want, and we know very well how fragile our communities are. We know very well how fragile our communities are. People keep asking, how did Kenyatta and Ruto work together? They said it in the open. They worked together to stop animosity between their communities. Somebody had to do it. It was not going to end. So we're asking Kenyans, we're asking civil society, we're asking people of faith, help us to heal this country, not to open up wounds and not to kill us again. We want victims to get justice, but we don't want this country to be torn apart. Thank you very much and God bless you.